And we're back for Chapter 8 of The Silver Arrow. Chapter 8, Tickets, Please. Kate woke up to the soft clickety rhythm of the train moving. Morning sunlight streamed in through the little window of the sleeper car. She sat up. For a second she had no idea where she was. Then it all came rushing back. Her birthday, the train, Uncle Herbert, the animals, everything. So fast it made her head spin. It was a mirror image of hers, except that it had Tom in it. Oh, sorry. She peered through the peephole in Tom's room. It was a mirror image of hers, except for it had Tom in it, and he was still asleep. Kate opened the window. The morning was cold and clear and smelled like snowy woods. Ahead, the Silver Arrow was puffing out grey smoke and white steam, and behind them a proper train stretched out now. The cars were all different colours, black and white and pine green and sky blue and red, brick red and bulldozer yellow. One of them, painted a deep indigo blue, was a yard taller than the others. She counted them, 15 cars. Wherever they were going there in a real train. There were clothes in the wardrobe, which was good because her old clothes were way too light for winter, which it now apparently was, and they weren't especially clean either. Though the new clothes were a little odd, a white blouse, thick grey cotton overalls, and a matching blazer. There was also an old-fashioned looking black winter coat made of waxed canvas with interesting brass buttons and a pair of excitingly grown-up looking black steel-cap boots that would be exceptionally good for kicking people with, if for some reason that became necessary. She put on the clothes, all except for the coat, and made her way back to the dining car, or one of them, assuming there were really two. A buffet was laid out for breakfast. She took scrambled eggs, granola and yogurt and some berries, bacon, toast with butter and peach jam. Both bacon and toast were lightly charred, which happened to be how she liked them, plus a big glass of fresh orange juice. She felt kind of greedy taking all that, but it was made already, so she figured she might as well eat it. She laid it all out on a table by a window. Then she went back to the sleeper car and got a book from the little shelf over her bed. For a certain kind of person, there is literally nothing nicer than eating breakfast by yourself on a moving train with a good book. Kate was one of those people. She was feeling something, a new feeling, not even a feeling exactly, more like she wasn't feeling a lot of things that she was used to feeling. She wasn't tired or bored or frustrated or wishing she was somewhere else doing something else. All that was cleared away. She still had basically no idea what was going on, but she knew she was free to be herself, right here, right now, in the moment. She couldn't wait to find out what she was going to feel next. The train slowed down. They were almost back at the station from last night. Tom came in, yawning, still in his pyjamas, chewing a piece of bacon. You think we're supposed to be doing something? He said. Probably. Don't know what, though. Click, bing! There was another one of those scrolling pieces of paper in the dining car, right on the door. Kate hadn't noticed it before. Yes, you're supposed to be doing something. Well, said Tom, do you want us to guess? That would be nice, but you'd only guess wrong. We're coming to the station. Go to the passenger cars and take the passengers' tickets. Oh, that did make a certain kind of sense, and it didn't sound that hard, at least in theory. In an alcove by the door of the passenger cars, they found two conductors' hats, which somehow looked a lot less dorky now, and two of those mysterious metal hole punches that train conductors always have. Both hats and the words "The Silver Arrow" were stitched on them with little letters. Silently, they placed the hats on their heads. Then they frowned and swapped hats. Better. Hey, how come you get a uniform? Tom said. If there was one thing Tom hated, it was when Kate got something that he didn't. It was childish and selfish, and Kate felt exactly the same way. It was in the wardrobe in the sleeper car. Didn't you look? No. Brakes squealed and the train stopped. Well, too late, she said. You'll just have to do it in your pyjamas. Ugh. The doors opened. The platform was still full of animals patiently waiting. She wondered if they'd been there all night. Maybe animals didn't get bored, or they began to file into the train. Even by human standards, they were incredibly polite. There was no pushing or shoving. No one barked or growled or squawked or tried to eat any of their fellow travellers, though Kate did notice that the larger and more predatory animals, a wolf, a bear, and a couple of large owls, tended to sit in the forward carriage, and the smaller, fluffier, more vulnerable animals kept to the rear. They all had a light dusting of snow on their fur or feathers. These weren't pets or farm animals or animals in a zoo, which always looked so dull and downcast and desperate. These were wild animals, and there was nothing between her and them. No fence, no glass, no nothing. She could have reached out and touched them if she dared. It was almost like she was one of them. As before, each animal held a single paper ticket in its mouth. The cars were divided into old-fashioned train compartments, and one by one the animals settled into them. The foxes curled up neatly on the seats with their tails under their chins. The birds perched on the luggage racks and seat backs. The bigger animals had to sort of squash themselves in. Some of the very small, shy animals, like possums and rabbits, hid under the seats. Everybody kept well clear of the large, slow-moving porcupine. A lot of cold air came in with them, and Kate shivered in her conductor's blazer. She'd have gone for the black winter coat, but it was too late now. She waited till the train was moving again, then opened the door of the first compartment. It was occupied by a family of deer, a doe and a stag and a fawn, plus a sombre, tattered-looking grey hawk. A crowd of mice huddled under a seat. They all looked at her. Kate cleared her throat. She wished somebody had explained exactly what she was supposed to do and how she was supposed to do it. But what's the worst that could happen? They had tickets. She was going to take them. Tickets, please, Kate said. The doe stretched her neck elegantly forward with all three of her family's tickets in her mouth. They had deer tooth marks on them, and the words Howland Forest were printed on them. She fumbled with the hole puncher before she figured out how to work it. Then she punched the tickets and handed them back. It was actually very satisfying. She guessed the train must be going to Howland Forest, wherever that was. She hoped the Silver Arrow knew. Chapter 9. Porcupine versus Bird. Fight. The next compartment held more rabbits, 2 turtles, and something long and slinky and furry that she supposed was probably a weasel or something. A gigantic black bear had the compartment after that all to itself. The next one held a fat black striped badger, the one she'd met earlier, and a family of spotted skunks, which were small but looked like they were afraid of literally nothing in the universe. Also, a whole row of sleepy bats. The tickets all had all kinds of destinations printed on them: Isle of Wight, Lower Salesian Wilderness, Sagano Bamboo Forest. They sounded like they were from all over the world. Kate wondered why they could possibly be going to all these different places and how they expected to get there on a steam train, but she didn't feel like she could ask. Her job was to punch the tickets, and she punched them. She accepted a ticket from a largest feline, not in a house cat or a quite big cat, but something in between. Its fur was partly spotted and partly striped, and it was a funny colour, grey with a hint of olive green. Thanks, it said. You're welcome. Was it a bobcat? A lynx? Kate hadn't studied for this. It was brave of you to come, the something cat said, after what happened last time. Kate gave it a funny look. Or she. She sounded like a she, and if animals were going to talk to her, she supposed she shouldn't think of them as it. Kate wanted to say that it really wasn't that brave, since she didn't know what happened last time. And wait a minute, what are you even talking about? But she had a lot of tickets to take. The last compartment contained more weasels, or were they minks, stoats, or wouldn't or couldn't stop chasing each other in circles. There was also a big wild turkey and more bats and a wolf that looked like a demon in a wolf form. That was probably perfectly nice when you got to know her. Then Kate was done. She took a deep breath and leaned back against the wall in the corridor. Phew, that went well. At that exact moment, a loud, excited chittering and squawking came from the compartment down the hall. Kate hurried over, straightening her conductor's hat. A striking white bird with a black cap and an orange beak was perched on the luggage rack, glaring down at the compartment's other occupant, which was the big porcupine. Get down from there, the porcupine said, right now. No, this is my compartment, you unbelievably unpleasant bird. I don't see how my being here could be inconvenienced to you in the slightest, said the bird. If you don't get right down right now, I will stand up on my hind legs and... Porcupines can't stand on their hind legs, said the bird. We can, for brief periods, answered the porcupine, though he didn't demonstrate. Look, said the bird, if we just agree that the luggage rack and the upper edge of the seats are my domain, and why don't we agree that you'll get out of my compartment right now, or I'll quill you in the next week? I'm not even sure what that means, Kate said. What's going on here? She had only just found out that animals could talk, and already she was wishing these two would shut up for a minute. I'll tell you what's going on, the porcupine said. I have a special ticket for my own private compartment, and now this trash-eating seagull won't get out of it. The porcupine proudly displayed his ticket, which was stuck on the point of one of his spines. You are betraying your ignorance, said the bird. I'm not a seagull. I'm a roseate tern. Well, good for you, said the porcupine. It is good, thank you very much. And we don't eat trash, we eat fish. He drew himself up with as much dignity as a roseate tern can muster. We are plunge divers. Kate examined the porcupine's ticket more closely. It says where available, she said. That means you get your own compartment if we have one. But I'm not sure there are any empty compartments right now. This compartment would be empty, the porcupine pointed out, if you just get that bird out of it. I don't have anywhere to put him, Kate said firmly. Put him with the hawks, replied the porcupine. Hawks prey on terns, said the bird. The porcupine shrugged. Circle of life. It's not, it's the circle of death. Both animals looked at Kate. Incredibly, it seemed like they were waiting for her to settle the argument. It was the kind of thing nobody had ever asked her to do at home. At home, there was always somebody else, a teacher, a parent, somebody. But here there was only her. She was going to have to think of something, but what? Maybe, she said finally to the porcupine, you'd be more comfortable in your own library car. And that's the end of the chapter, and we'll be back tomorrow.